I am so excited. I'm Jeanette Bordeaux, the founder of Boston Community, and I'm here with Ellen Coule, and she is so freaking cool. And she's the founder of Lady Boss Social and also Coule Company. So I want to hear from you. How are you doing? What's up?
Hey Jeanette, so I'm doing so well. I just got back from a trip to San Diego recently. I am riding on a high from a conference that I attended. I'm just bursting with creative energy. So I'm so excited to be talking to you today. You are someone who inspires me as well, and I love that we have so many interests in common. So I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, I am so excited too. So, for anyone who doesn't know what Lady Boss Social Club is, absolutely need to look them up on Instagram, on YouTube. I think you're on everything, right? So, so look them up. It's an amazing women empowerment community where they provide training for women who are interested in, really taking their passion to the next level. But before we get into all of that, I want to hear more about your personal story because I know a little bit about it, but for anyone who may not know you, how did you embark on this journey to start Lady Boss Social Club?
Yeah, so it's a really fun story. I have been an entrepreneur at heart my entire life. So I always knew that even after I went into the corporate grind that I would someday be out. And so it was just kind of always turning in the back of my head about what I wanted to do and how I would do it. And I really loved having the corporate lifestyle for a little while. So it gave me a lot of freedom to explore my passions, learn on someone else's dime, which is really important. And then finally, when the time came for me to kind of spread my wings, I was able to with so much experience under my belt. So back in, I believe it was 2015, I started doing Lady Boss meetups because I have so many female entrepreneur friends in my local community who were just 24/7 hustling. Like, we all really related on the fact that we were just like in love with our businesses. We loved working, but we also realized that we were kind of spending a little too much time working and too much time in the grind. So I started doing Lady Boss meetups so that we could all get together and talk business, but together, and be social, and get kind of a break from what we're doing where, you really need to like shift locations to shift your perspective a lot of times. So it became this really great way to get my friends together socially, but still we all felt like we weren't skipping a beat or taking time off from our business because we were able to really be creative together. So that evolved. I quit my corporate career back in 2015 as well. And yeah, after that, Lady Boss just kind of became something I did for fun with my friends to get us all together. It evolved into not just meetups. We started to do events that had a charitable spin. So we started doing Lady Boss clothing swaps. And that was really awesome for me because it was a way for us to all get together, but without the focus being on business. So, of course, business comes up when you're around other entrepreneurs, but it was nice to shift it from the sole focus being on business and be able to focus on friendships and connections and us personally. So, last November, so that was November 2017, I decided to really put the gas to the pedal, or put the pedal to the metal for Lady Boss Social Club. And we launched our website. We started doing more local events and really being a lot more official. Started growing our Facebook and Instagram following and creating a Facebook group so our members would have like a real hub to hang out in no matter where they are in the world. And yeah, it's been so much fun for me. My favorite thing to do is throw events, invite awesome people, and just like sit back and watch the magic happen. And so that's, to me, that's kind of the ethos of Lady Boss Social Club is, I create events that bring awesome people together so they can get together and change the world. And that means something a little bit different to everyone, but being able to bring people together is really the first step in creating important relationships that create impact.
Yeah, literally everything and just agree with all of it. And that's so, your journey is so amazing because I feel like there's so many pieces and parts of it that you touched on that a lot of people like can resonate with. Like so much, like the 9 to 5 job, like starting something, and then later even putting more energy to it. So I definitely want to talk about that. First, how important do you think it is, especially new entrepreneurs, for them to have that women-based community?
To me, it has been a non-negotiable. When I first quit my corporate job, I was working at home full time, and I loved it. It was so much fun making my own schedule, being home, when I wanted, being able to work when I wanted. But it was very lonely after a while, and I think that happens for a lot of female entrepreneurs because not to stereotype, but most of us want to do it all. We want to have the social life, we want to have the family life, we want to have a great, thriving business, and it's really important to have a community around you to be able to support you in all of those things and kind of notice when you might need extra support or be there as like a shoulder to cry on or an ear to listen. For me, being someone who like has experienced depression and anxiety on and off my whole life, having a community that I can really connect with and talk about more than just business, but really like the mindset and the mental health aspects of being an entrepreneur, that has just been so vital to me and my personal self-care. So I think that for anyone, woman, man, young, old, everybody needs a really great, strong community, and it can take a while to build that up for yourself, but it's the best gift you can ever give to yourself, for sure.
That's amazing. And I so agree. I know that we've talked a little bit about how I was like, whenever I went through that, like quitting full-time job and starting business, it was like, you're all, as entrepreneurship and business, like you kind of have to go into like the sales mode too. So for me personally, it was like a very masculine thing and like not a lot of feminine energy. And I was like, oh, this is driving me crazy. I just want to like hang out with girls. So yeah, that's how the benefit I got of it. And also just having people that also understand where you're coming from and the struggles that you're going through. I like,
Yeah.
if I can talk like spiritual things with anyone, I know we're going to be best friends. So even if we initially met because of business, which happens all the time. So I
Yes.
love the emphasis on that. It's so important. And especially, yeah, your healthcare or self-care is super important as well. Healthcare.
Well,
So
I really
important.
resonate with what you're saying about having the need to have some like feminine
Hmm.
energy in your life, because when I was in my corporate grind, I was like, well, for at least the first year, I was pretty much the only female employee.
Hmm.
So I ended up bringing on a lot of women to work on my team. But before that, it was just like very masculine, like male driven industry, super male dominated. And for me, when I actually quit my job and like started working at home, I was like, you know what, I really need more female relationships. I
Hmm.
had a lot of great women in my life, but it became this time where I was just like, you know what, I'm going to focus on meeting and connecting with amazing women who inspire me and have, we have a lot in common. And it just like was this intention I set, and it magically happened. And here I am, like 2.5 years later, and I have this thriving community of mostly women who, if I want to have a conversation about anything, whether it's something I need for mental health or business or social media or just like anything at all, I have people in that circle who I can talk to. And it's just so good for people to have a really great support system. So I highly
Absolutely.
recommend that everyone has like a core group of people that they're connected to.
Yes, I absolutely agree. I also want to ask you about from going from corporate to entrepreneur life. Oh my gosh, I know that we're going to have so many ladies watching this that are probably in that exact same, point in their life. They've been thinking about it a long time. They're like, okay, it's time, but I don't know what to do. What, like, was going through your mind at that time? And then, like, how did you, muster up the confidence and courage to really take that step?
Wow, when you asked that, it like put me right back into that moment, that experience of the months that I was sitting in my chair at my desk. It wasn't a cubicle, but it may as well have been. And I was just dreaming of being outside of those four walls. Um, I would say, what really made me realize that like the time is now, was that I had a few family members who had some health crises. My older sister, who was only like maybe 35 at the time, had emergency brain surgery, and it was like she's totally fine. It was just a medical miracle, but at the time, it rocked my world so much that I was like, what am I waiting for? I have this dream. I know what I need to do. I have, the savings in my bank so that I can live for a while, even if I'm not making money at first. And it just became this instant realization that, like, I got to put a move on this because nobody else can accomplish my dreams except me. But I would say, there's a lot that you have to think about if you are deciding to quit your job. I used to do these quit your day job strategy sessions with my clients, and we would help them. It was so much fun because everyone wants to quit their job. Everybody I know who's like still in corporate, very few people love their job. Most of them are like looking to create a plan to quit. So we would do these strategy sessions, and we would go through this whole process of like, how do you quit your day job in a smart way so that you're not just like, F you guys, like I'm out, which we all fantasize about. But it's true. Most people probably have this idea of like, if they were gonna quit tomorrow, like they would do it in this very elaborate, showy way that, would just stick it to their boss. But there really is a lot that you have to think about before you do quit your job, and you have to make sure that you're in the right mindset, because being an entrepreneur, as you know, is no easy task. You go from having maybe one job, maybe you wear a lot of hats at your job, but like you're gonna go to wearing every single hat in your business, or having to hire and delegate and then a manager so that other people can do those things that you don't want to do. So my recommendation to anyone who is thinking about quitting their day job and starting their own business is to have a strategy. Don't feel like, you have to quit tomorrow just because time is limited. You can have a strategic plan and make sure that it makes sense for you and that you're doing it in a way that you're going to be okay, your family's going to be okay, and you're not going to put yourself in a position where it's like do or die, because for people who do have depression or anxiety or other mental health issues, that's like a huge way to self-sabotage. So have a plan.
Yes. No, I so agree with that. I so agree with that advice, because that's something I definitely didn't have. And I think I was more like, I quit my full-time job just because I was fed up, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I think a lot of people go through that. Of course, it's like, you've been contemplating it for months, because, I mean, kudos to anyone that was like, quit my job, and they just do it that day. I don't know how. Like, it took me a long, long time to even get to that point of saying, okay, I'm going to do this now. Because honestly, just the fear was holding me back. Like, oh, can I make it? Can I do this? But I didn't really, the first 2 months were like craziness. I didn't have a strategy. I didn't realize the importance of cash flow. Oh my goodness. But luckily that all worked out, and it's great now. So, but yeah, absolutely, I agree. Have a plan for sales and cash flow, 100 million %. Because you need that to sustain. Because you do have to pay all your own bills.
Yes, absolutely. Like, and when you pay your own bills, like nobody else can tell you anything. They can't tell you what to do. Their opinion isn't worth anything. So as long as you are able to take care of your own bills, take care of yourself, like you can make entrepreneurship work, but you want to make sure there's some strategy there so that you're not just like jumping into something head first and putting yourself in a in a bad position if you don't actually succeed on your first timeline, because plan A, isn't like isn't always a sure thing.
Oh my god, that's such a good segue and such a good topic. Like plan A. Because it's so funny. It's like when we make the jump and we have a business, we're just like, I'm gonna do this one thing and it's gonna make me so much money and it's gonna be great. Like, or at least that was my thinking. Naive.
Yeah.
And as I got into it, you kind of open up yourself to like, oh, there's all these ways and there's different ways of doing things. So what do you think about entrepreneurs that have that mindset? How can they think differently? How can they open themselves up? How can they constantly be pivoting their business in a way that is going to make them, profitable, like thrive and personally and professionally?
That's such a great question. And I think it's different for everyone. But if I had to narrow it down as like this strategy applies to everyone, it would be simplify. Do not start out with trying to do all of the things. Don't try to offer everything or say yes to everything. Keep focused, simplify, edit your offerings down, and like take out the fluff so that what you're focusing on is something that you're really great at, something you're strong at, and something that you can repeat easily. I think so many people get into this zone of, I'll do whatever someone asks me to do. If they're going to offer me money, like I will say yes to it. And I believe that that can be a huge mistake, because instead of focusing on one thing and being really great at it, you kind of customize to whatever somebody wants, and then you're left with a strategy that's not necessarily repeatable. So I would say simplify and just focus on what you're really great at. And even if that's something like super off the wall and different, that's actually going to be a strength for you,
Right.
not a weakness. So if you have a good strategy and keep it as simple as possible, then you're able to pivot really easily in your business and make little shifts that are going to make you more money or help you, leverage your network or whatever that is, that you want to do next. But keeping it simple really helps. Another thing for people who are doing like all the things in their business, or I should say offering all of the things, it makes it very difficult to pivot quickly, because if you change one thing, you might be changing how you work in every area of your business. So simple is always better, no matter what you're doing.
No, I think that's great advice. 100%. I love that. And I also, because that was interesting, because I started simple without, like I said, there was no strategy. So it just happened that way. Mostly because I was like, I'm going to be a lifestyle entrepreneur. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. And then, nailing something and then moving on to adding something else. I think that's really important, because you just get stressed out. You're trying to manage all the things and trying to streamline. Because if you can't streamline something and you try to move to something else, it's just like, as my own experience has just been chaotic and stressful. But no, that's such good advice. Yes, and also I think another thing that's important to point out as far as like plan A and like, how to think about your business in a way that you can thrive and like continue to grow, but also that it's okay if plan A doesn't work out. Like, I think that's something that I know for a fact, I struggled with. I see other people, entrepreneurs, struggle with. They think that if their first idea doesn't work or isn't like super successful, that they're just a failure.
Yes. Yeah. It's so true. I know so many people who call their business their baby, and I think that's like the worst mindset you can have when it comes to your business. I know that's a really popular thing to say, but if your plan A or your business is your baby, and if it's a real baby, like you're attached to that, you're committed to that. You can't just like leave your baby out. You can't just like say bye to your baby and say bye to plan A. But your business is not a baby. It's not like this breathing, living thing that needs you to like eat, sleep, and breathe it. So I think just kind of being a little bit less attached to your business is a really good thing for a lot of new entrepreneurs, because you just can't be married to like one way of doing things or like one outcome. I think it's really important to be goal driven, but not process driven. So usually your plan A, like say you're like, okay, I'm going to make $100,000 this year. You can be married to the goal of $100,000, but don't be married to how you're going to get there. So I think it's so important to have a plan B and to not be married to your plan A. As we just experienced, plan A, obstacles will arise, things will happen, and that's totally okay. That's normal, and that's like part of the life cycle for an entrepreneur. But I think that one thing a lot of people do that is a huge mistake is calling their business their baby, or referring to their business as like this thing that would be like a living, breathing thing that you actually have to care for. And your business is not your baby. You can't quit your baby. You can't like leave it alone for a week. That's not, business and a baby are not the same thing. And it's really important to have that separation and emotional detachment from your work, which is easier said than done. But, at the same time, you just don't want to get into your business with the mindset that like it's super personal, or that if plan A doesn't happen, that means like you're a failure or something like that. You really have to detach in that way. And we were talking about being really goal driven. And I think it's really important to be driven by your goals and not by process. So, for example, if your goal is to make $100,000 this year, there are so many different ways that you can get to that goal. So, if plan A doesn't work, you can figure out what you can learn from that and how you can then apply that lesson to plan B or plan C, and just keep trying to hit that goal without worrying about, okay, this process isn't working. Like, let me make sure that I get this process down. Sometimes, plan A or certain processes just won't work for you. So you have to be adaptable. Sorry, my cat is moving my computer. But yeah, you really should be married to your goals and not to your plans. And don't take things personally if you have failures, because failures are really our best lessons in life and business.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So much great advice. And I think the baby thing, business is not your baby, so true, but so many people say it. And I think that's so healthy to not think of it as your baby, because then you make it your life. And it's like, do you really want your life, to be your work? And a lot of times, obviously for entrepreneurs, it's like, yes, it is that, because we're working on growth, we're working on how can we make things better. But I think what happens when you kind of, my business is my life, I don't have anything outside of that, you start to, you're not as happy or like not as fulfilled in other ways, and you also tend to put your identity in that role. So it's like, I'm the CEO or I'm the founder, and that's all you have. So like, what happens if that goes away one day? It's like, then you just don't have anything. Like, I think it's so important, and such a good statement that you made, because people really have to think about, work differently, and that it's, yes, while we all have to work, we all have to make a living, we all enjoy what we do, it shouldn't be like the core basis of like our life.
Absolutely. I mean, we all evolve. Our businesses will evolve because we are evolving as people, especially for us that are multi-passionate. I feel like everyone's multi-passionate, but there are those of us who feel like, okay, I'm definitely multi-passionate to a T. It's hard to say, oh, what do I want to do for the rest of my life? Like, you don't really know what your life is going to look like 5 years, even 2 years from now. So it's really important, I think, as you said, not to have your identity be in your business or like what you do. Your identity is who you are, not what you do. I know so many people, including my sister, who have these like punctuated phases throughout their life of, for this 5 years they were a baker, and for this 5 years they were a writer, and for this 5 years they did something else. And people kind of know you as you were like when they met you. So my sister, for example, will have people say, oh, how's your baking business going? And she's like, I haven't seen you in 10 years, apparently. Because that was her 2 lifetimes ago. But yeah, it's really important to allow yourself that flexibility and that freedom to be yourself within your business and not get into business thinking that like that has to be everything that you're putting into the world. Like, you bring so much worth and value just by being you, and you don't have to prove your worth by having a successful business. Those are 2 like totally separate and distinct things.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's such a great distinction. And I love what you said about as we personally evolve, our businesses evolve. And I think that's such a powerful statement, because everything you do or you want in life really does start with you. So if like you have things that you're messed up emotionally about, or